for the most popular sport on the planet.
Football is life!
Coming at you from apartments in Las Vegas and Bogota.
Right, y'all do ties here.
Taylor Wilson and Tom Viola are here to bring you their thoughts on betting on the beautiful game.
Not a game, not the game you go out there and die for.
From the Premier League to the Major League and everything in between, join the guys as they try to beat the book without busting their bankroll.
Well, as my doctor told me when I got addicted to fettuccine Alfredo, that's a little rich for my blood.
It's time for Betting the High Line. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on into Betting the High Line, your go-to source for all your picks, parlays, and analysis around the beautiful game. I'm Thomas Viola, and joining me as always, my faithful co-host, the man in Bogota, the Pablo Escobar of plays, Taylor Wilson. Taylor, how are you doing today?
Just to clarify, folks, Tom Viola is not dressed as the sidekick Robin. He's just in AFCON spirit mode with the Cameroon vintage shirts, just to get that out of the way.
Absolutely. You know it here. We have the vintage Cameroon jersey on. It is AFCON time. We are going to be hitting that today hard. We've got some gameplay. We've got some games that we want to pick. We've got some futures bets. We were going to pick every group for you. We're going to run down that whole list here. And we've still got some FA Cup action as well. We're going to ignore the Premier League games that are going on in the midweek because everyone's playing on FA Cup weekend. We don't really have at this point on Thursday as we're recording this show enough of a read because we don't know what's going to happen then to really look ahead. But it's AFCON week, and that is what we are here for, Taylor. It is going to be a fun one. Before we get started, though, let's take a moment to thank our sponsors at the FTN Network. FTN Network is an incredible source for all your betting, fantasy, daily fantasy needs, and more with awesome analytics tools to help you dominate however you play. There's rankings every day for daily fantasy, regardless of the sport that you're on. Football, soccer, basketball, PGA, you name it, we have it. Please go subscribe now. You can find the link in the bio of the show, link in the description of the show to get whatever subscription suits your fancy. And you can grab an FTN subscription today using our promo code GOLAZO, GOLAZO, for 10% off of your subscription price. Guys, please use that code. And don't forget, like, subscribe, and share the show. Helps us out. Even just hitting that little like button on YouTube, giving us that 5-star rating on whatever podcast platform you're listening on, helps us with the algorithms, helps us grow the show and get bigger and better for you. All right, Taylor, let's get into it. FA Cup week is here. So we're going to ignore the EPL for now and hop into some of these games. I'll start off with the games you're looking at. First off, Man City going to Swindon Town in this one. Swindon Town 11-1 as a dog. Man City minus 450 and the draw at 600. I have a strong feeling you're not taking Swindon Town money line.
Well, the money. Listen, I look at this board. So before even looking at any of the numbers, I'm thinking, hey, it's Swindon Man City. It's the Friday game. This kicks off. The Prem team's coming back into FA Cup action here in the third round. My first take, Tom, was actually, hey, can I get a half a dozen Swindon goals? Like, what kind of line am I getting? I want to just play something for fun and just have it be one of these where it's dead at the 40-minute mark after City's gone ahead 6-0. Unfortunately, or I guess fortunately for my wallet, the books aren't even really letting me take that kind of a play. This is actually a much more conservative read from Vegas on what Man City can do in this game, which to me, it seems like a good opportunity to actually profit on City. The caveat of all of that is we have no idea what kind of lineup City is going to put out there. It could be 6 or 7 teenagers. It may not matter. This is another team, by the way, where their second unit is often as good as anyone's first unit, certainly better than whatever Swindon's first unit is. So you mix in 2 or 3 actual starters that are on their second unit, and suddenly City looks to be in pretty good shape here. Now, as far as what the numbers available are, I'm kind of circling City at 2.5 goals for a plus price, Tom. In this case, getting them at plus 145. Got to be a little bit careful away from home, and the FA Cup teams can slip up. We think back to what happened with City against Wigan not too long ago, but I think this is a pretty solid spot. City did not have to, like some of these other teams, actually in this case, only 2 other teams have to worry about League Cup in the midweek. So that might be even better of an argument that they're going to play a couple of actual players, maybe not starters, but maybe not pure academy guys in this game. And even if they do, it's a pretty darn good academy. They're usually able to bring out results even with those kinds of lineups. So 2.5 goals, really not too rich for my blood, Tom. I think that's a perfectly reasonable line. City have won 13 of their last 14 in all competitions. The only loss was that Leipzig game in the Champions League, which was basically not a meaningful game for City at that point of the competition in the group stage. So every other meaningful game, they've effectively won 13 games in a row. That's not 13 in a row without a loss. That's 13 in a row wins for City in all competitions. They've been absolutely rolling in the Premier League. Bit of an easy stretch for them in the Prem in terms of some of the teams they were playing before that Arsenal game. But I think the Arsenal game was a good example of what this team can do, even not on their best day, pulling out results. And I think they'll be just fine here. So again, I was looking at like 4 or 5, 6 goals in terms of the spread line here. And you end up looking at a pretty reasonable, in fact, plus 145 price for City at minus 2.5 goals. So, it's a lot of goals on the road, Tom, in a tricky competition, but I think you got to just keep trying to look for City plays at this point. I don't care who's out there playing. If they have the pale blue on or one of their crazy alternate kits, I think they're going to get it done pretty comfortably. So give me City minus 2.5 goals.
I'm completely with you here. I wasn't really looking at this game, but now that you bring it up, especially that 2.5, getting almost plus 150, that is a ridiculously nice plus price on a game that I don't care if City plays 6 or 7 teenagers. That they already pretty much know that they're going to win the league short of a disaster at this point. They're starting to run away with the Prem. This is a chance to collect as many trophies as they can in a calendar year. I think that they are going to be actually trying in this FA Cup. Does that mean that they have to send out a real team for this game? Of course not. But I think that they will, no matter who they send out, be able to put up 2.5 goals in this one. I like a 3-0. It's probably going to be a blowout, especially the way that they've played so many teams. More than happy to take the 2.5 and see what we get out of this one, because I think that you're going to make a nice profit here.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it this way, should I wait for a live play or not? That's how I sometimes look at some of these pre-flop or post. You're not going to get any number that you like more than this pre-flop play, I think, on City. I think it's more likely than anything that City comes out and scores 3 or 4 goals in the first half hour, 40 minutes. I think you're at halftime in pretty good shape and suddenly aware that if you didn't take this pre-flop, you got nothing that you can take live. I think this number is perfectly reasonable. Like I say, I wanted a Swindon plus 4.5 or something crazy just to have fun with it. You're not even getting that option really here in terms of anything reasonable. So we're both aligned on a City 2.5.
Exactly. Next up for you, Kidderminster versus Reading in a game of just that. This absolutely sounds made up here. Kidderminster plus 500 at home, Reading minus 175, the draw plus 310. I have been to a Reading match. I was at the EFL playoff final when they lost to Huddersfield. But they obviously have not made it back up to the Premier League since that chance. Kidderminster here at 5-1, though. Where are you looking in this game? This was one that I was surprised you just hit me with this. I've got to play in it, and I'm like, all right, I'll hear you out.
So I agree. It feels made up. It seems like the season 3 Ted Lasso storyline to come. That's exciting that you're part of the Reading family, although maybe you're with the Huddersfield supporters in that game.
I was.
Well, there you go. I'm looking at Kidderminster. All right, so just to set the stage here, first of all, I have them locked at plus 500. I think that number has apparently other people are taking Kidderminster with me. I saw it at 475 before we came on here. I'm taking a money line at 5-1.
All right.
A couple of just points here. This is a team in Kidderminster Harriers, again, feels made up. That's down in the 2nd division of the conference, now called National League North. So in this case, they're playing Reading, a team lower championship. That's League 1, League 2, top National League. That's 4 divisions lower are Kidderminster Harriers, although they are hosting, the magic of the cup under the lights in wherever Kidderminster is. The Kidderminster fans are going to come at me hard on this segment. But I think they get it done, though, because first of all, this is a team that hasn't played in like a month, a ton of postponements. I don't think people are aware of how crazy some of these lower divisions are. We talk a lot about the Premier League postponements, and today Serie A came back. Like half of that slate was postponed because of COVID. This is just going to be the reality who knows for how long. We're done guessing on that with Rona, but it's the reality right now, especially in these lower divisions. I mean, they don't mess around. They just basically postpone. So you take a Reading team that, like a lot of the Prem teams, is coming off of the back of the busiest part of the season, this holiday schedule where you're playing once every 3 days, and Kidderminster, who are now coming up close to a month of rest, guys going home to their families, now coming back, having a full week of training to prepare for this. I just like that. I like it in terms of what Reading's form has been in the championship also. They've been slipping like crazy, precipitous drop for them in that division. Right now, in fact, they're one of my future plays that I like to go down and get relegated to League One. Reading have not been in good form. Kidderminster, in the promotion fight to get up to National League, to the main National League, for whatever that's worth, Tom. But this is more a fade Reading play and a well-rested Kidderminster play. And you know what? Beyond anything, it's the freaking FA Cup. Craziness like this happens, especially when you take the Prem teams out of it. The third round is very favorable and comfortable for Premier League teams. Sometimes those upper championship teams too. But I've long said, the lower Prem and the upper championship are kind of their own table. These lower championship teams are often as bad as teams down in League One and League Two, just in terms of the form that they're in. And I think that's the case with this Reading team. So does that mean that they're as bad as a National League North team? Not on paper, but I think this is a real opportunity for a major upset, a major slip. Maybe I'd like a little bit more than plus 500, but I think the books are with me that this is a perfectly reasonable outcome. And I think Kidderminster gets it done. So up the Harriers. I'm not entirely sure what a Harrier is in this context, Tom, but we're going to ride with them and see what happens.
It is a bird.
Okay.
That's all I've got for you there. It is a bird. I have no play on this. Good luck. I wish you all the best. Where are you going on Chelsea versus Chesterfield? That's the last FA Cup game you have down listed on your board here.
I will just say it looks to be a pretty strong bird of prey too. I'm just looking up the Google Images search there. So we're in good shape. Chelsea Chesterfield. I am going to fade Chelsea, surprisingly, maybe for you, Tom. I like the amount of goals you can get here. I'm pinning Chesterfield plus 3.25, right around even. You might be laying around minus 110 juice, depending on when and where you get that price. This is another massive disparity in terms of leagues. Premier League team against the top of the conference, so top of National League team. Chesterfield, barring real disaster, will get promoted this year and make it back into the Football League, into League Two. It's a solid team. It's a team that spent many of their last few years kind of zigzagging, yo-yoing back and forth from League Two and the conference. But this has as much to do with a fade Chelsea as anything. I think, first of all, the injuries and the COVID situation for Chelsea continue in a very strong way. N'Golo Kante clearing COVID protocol and then immediately getting hurt is kind of the N'Golo Kante story in a nutshell. Edouard Mendy, now officially off to Africa Cup of Nations. We'll be talking about AFCON here very shortly. That's one thing that Chelsea will have to deal with over the next month is, hey, it's Kepa season, baby. The Kepa experiment continues. Now, they might even rotate further than that and go deeper into the goalie depth chart since he has to play a lot of games coming up. But I would imagine he probably will play here and use it as kind of a continued warm-up for some more meaningful games coming forward. There's going to be a ton of rotation for Chelsea. And we think about them not dissimilar to City in terms of a side that can actually handle it. But in terms of a lot of those second unit guys that have had to play for Chelsea over the last month or two, this feels more like a true academy game for me from Chelsea. If you want to wait for the lineup, that's perfectly reasonable. We're doing this show on a Thursday, so I figure I'll talk about it on a Thursday. Totally fine to wait an hour, 10 minutes, hour before kickoff and see who Chelsea are putting out there. That's probably what I'm going to do. I don't think the numbers are going to change dramatically if you hop on that quickly. But I do think this is a true teenager game, a true academy game for Chelsea. They'll probably do just enough to win it. They are at home, but I think 3 goals and change, you're giving me some protection there on some push protections as well, some of that quarter ball safety stuff. I just think it's a lot of goals for a Chelsea team that's going to be playing like true third unit and academy guys. In between League Cup semis also, Chelsea got a big win against Spurs in the midweek. But that tie's not over yet. They had a lot of opportunities to get a third goal and kind of completely seal things off. It's not over. And so they're going to go back to Tottenham next midweek with a really important game, especially now that the Premier League race, Tom, is basically done and dusted. I think Chelsea would love to win the League Cup. I think they'd love to win the FA Cup, but they don't have to prioritize the FA Cup right now. I think this is a League Cup week because they're in the semis of that. So expect children, true children, 16, 17, 18-year-olds out there, Tom. Maybe with Kepa, maybe with like one player, maybe Hakeem Ziyech, since he didn't get sent to Africa, maybe he gets put back out there. But
knowing Tuchel, it's going to be Pulisic out there.
Yeah.
Like that's just what's going to happen here. Give me Chesterfield 35-1. It's upset week. It's upset week.
I love it. I love it.
I've got a couple plays here. West Ham -115 versus Leeds. I've loved betting West Ham in all of the wrong spots. Maybe this is one of those spots, but I feel like this is a team that's looking like, hey, we have top 4 aspirations this year, and this is a chance to potentially bring home a prestigious trophy. I think that they'll be taking this seriously. Any read on West Ham there? Like -115, I feel like that's a pretty solid one.
West Ham should win that game. I just, the caveat for all these, I'd kind of like to see the lineup. This is an interesting one in terms of how teams prioritize the different competitions. Because like you say, West Ham, a real top 4 contender. I think they'll continue to be in that race. We've had the same conversation about Leicester in past seasons. How badly do they want to finish in 4th? Or would they rather get silverware? Or do those things not necessarily have to be mutually exclusive? Maybe they can make both of those fights at the same time. For Leeds, I think it's the same conversation because Leeds, I don't know if they're a real like capital hard R relegation contender, but they're not totally safe from that mix. They really have to focus on shoring up their Premier League safety. And yet, we talk about mid-table teams in the Prem all the time. Like, why don't you go all in on the FA Cup? Why don't you go all in the League Cup? Because these are real opportunities. Even if you don't win it all, like if you make Wembley, if you make the semis, if you go on a deep run, it suddenly gives meaning to a season that might not have a lot of it if you're finishing 13th or whatever. So, which could be the case for Leeds. I do think just in a vacuum, West Ham's a much better team. Reasonable money line price. I think if you get most of the starters or at least some of the starters playing there, I do like West Ham. Tough draw when these Prem teams have to go up against another Prem team in the 3rd round. You think about, Chelsea against Chesterfield. This is a real contest and, managers having to make real decisions. I'd want to wait for the lineups in a game like that.
Yeah.
But I think in a vacuum, I like West Ham.
Yeah, these games come with some caveats about lineups and looking and waiting on those and seeing what you want to play when it comes out. The next one up, speaking of, I was going to say, you've got West Ham going up against Leeds because, the big clubs, the Chelseas, the Man Cities, they don't get Premier League teams in the 3rd round. It's the small clubs that you have that get matched up against other Premier League teams. Like the West Hams versus the Leeds, of course, they get shafted because they're not one of the big clubs that has that respect to get the draw rigged in their favor. So the next game up, same deal here. You've got 2 really small clubs going at it. Villa versus Man United here.
Well done. Great setup.
I thank you very much. Thank you. I am taking Villa plus 450 in this one. Again, it's a wait for the lineups thing, but I have a feeling Man U isn't going to take this competition very seriously here.
I don't think so either. And I guess the weird thing here is it's like we're going to see maybe some backups for United, and we might find out that, actually these guys care, and the usual United rotation guys don't. Like it could be one of those things, which is why this is a full stay away for me. I have absolutely no read. I mean, I'll check out the lineups and see what happens. United are, again, just not good. I don't know what to tell you. Like Rangnick can do whatever he wants to save the team. It seems to be getting even worse at this point. Like a really dreadful performance and result on Monday at home to Wolves. Like that's it. I think we need to remind people of what Manchester United was at one point. Like a decade ago, United loses that game at home to Wolves, and it's like the dominating like front page headline. Like it's crisis mode at United, et cetera, et cetera. Now it's kind of like, all right, yeah, like that's another day at the office for Manchester United. Like I don't know if they're quite Arsenal meme worthy because those are 2 different experiences, but United, I do think it feels like 1 step forward, 2 steps back at this point. They get the nice result against a bad Burnley team, and they follow it up with this. So I like a fade United play. I'm a little bit worried that ironically, like some of the kids, some of the backups might be playing even better for United than some of the main guys. So for me, that's a stay away.
Yeah, I think you make a good point about the backups here. This is another one of those things that at plus 450, at 4.5 to 1, you can only be so wrong.
That's true.
This is like maybe a half unit play, maybe a full unit play if you really care about it. But this is one of those longer shots that I actually kind of like to come through because of some of this FA Cup magic here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. All right. It is time. What we've all been waiting for here. I was talking with my friend. I sent the text, best tournament in soccer starts this week. And he goes, MLS is back too? And I go, second best tournament in soccer starts this week. And he goes, the Coupe de France already started. And I say, third best tournament in soccer. And he goes, it's AFCON time. The African Cup of Nations is here. My boys, the hosts, Cameroon. Can they take it all down? They are. They're not reigning champions, but they are former champions here, beating Egypt, of course, in what was one of the most Cinderella runs in AFCON history with all of their backups because none of their starters felt like going. Who knows? Could it happen again? Let's start off with that very first game in the tournament here. The opener is going to be Burkina Faso versus our hosts, Cameroon here. Cameroon minus 165, Burkina Faso plus 550, and the draw plus 275. I'll tell you, I mean, I'm taking Cameroon on the money line, but a minus at 1.5 goals here at 2 to 1 isn't out of the question.
So, Tom, you did the whole setup. You have the vintage Cameroon shirt on. I love it. It's fantastic. I am going to spend a lot of this show talking about why I'm fading Cameroon in this tournament. So we finally have a major disagreement. I'm going to start, by the way, taking Burkina Faso plus 550 here on this head-to-head. So Cameroon, the hosts, obviously, this is a team that has certainly, you mentioned it, gone on runs in this tournament before. I don't know, man. Like, we're going to have this conversation about a few teams about, past golden generation, et cetera, et cetera. Cameroon, since the Eto'o years, have gone through different, are they past the golden generation now? Oh, now they're back in a silver generation. Now they're in this, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to have that same conversation about Ivory Coast. Ghana, you could have a similar story with as well. I'm not sure I see it with Cameroon, Tom. You still have the guys up top like Choupo-Moting, and if they put out Vincent Aboubakar, that's a solid pairing. I think those are guys who can bang in the goals. I was very, very impressed what they did in a huge, high-stakes, backs against the wall, winner-take-all, essentially, end of the group matchup against their rivals, Ivory Coast, at the end of that group. Very impressive, kind of gritty 1-0 win for Cameroon. And I guess that might be the argument that they continue to rail out those in this tournament. At the end of the day, this group is not particularly difficult. You do get an Ethiopia team that I think everyone will beat up on. I think Burkina Faso, by the way, not particularly good either. I just think this is a crazy money line, and I like them at plus 550 to start. Burkina Faso, I don't really even know much about them beyond the Bertrand Traore situation. He's one of the bigger names of this tournament, you could argue, but not a whole lot of guys beyond that. I think Cameroon does have a deeper team than them. I just think those numbers are off. I think you're going to have a lot of pressure on Cameroon to start well as the host in this opening game. I think a draw makes some sense here as well, Tom. I fully disagree with your read on the 1.5. So I might therefore take a plus 1.5, and I'm taking Burkina Faso plus 550. So let's go, baby. The Burkina Bees boys getting it done.
Absolute complete disagreement here with you in all ways. I mean, you've still got, yes, this Cameroon team is getting a little bit older. I mean, Choupo-Moting is no spring chicken anymore. Aboubakar has been around, but you've also got Leon forward, Toko Akambe. This team is still talented. They're ridiculously fast, and they are a very dominant team at home. They have already been just fantastic in World Cup qualifiers after missing the previous World Cup. It was a brutal World Cup for me. I'll tell you that. You're talking my three favorite teams. The United States didn't make it. Italy didn't make it. Cameroon didn't make it. All three of the teams that I would support were out of that World Cup. It was awful.
It's not great. I went 1 for 3. I only went 1 for 3 with, if you want to say I'm Colombia, U.S., and Ivory Coast. So
that is also rough.
I'm going to go hopefully 2 for 3 this time. We'll find out.
But this team has already left talking about Ivory Coast. They have left some of these teams in the dust when it comes to the qualifiers here. They are a formidable team at home. They're going to come out guns blazing in this game. I really do see this being kind of a statement game to set the tone for the tournament for them. They are a team that has a real chance to go on and win it as the hosts.
Wow. Do you think they make Qatar? I know those draws haven't been made yet for the last 10 teams. You feel pretty confident there?
Yeah, I think they make Qatar.
Okay. I think to me that all depends on if they get DR Congo. Actually, I have to look at what it's just random there. Yeah, we'll see what the matchup is there. But to me, that's a total toss up. I don't know. The thing is, I honestly read this AFCON, Tom, as probably a little bit more. I think a lot of people think it'll be relatively open. I think I'm even more on the extreme there of thinking don't get too set in the tiers of oh, hey, Algeria is this much better than everyone else. I think there are some very good teams. I think there are some really good players. This is gonna be a really fun tournament for some very fun players to watch. So in that sense, why not Cameroon? I do think there's a ton of teams in the mix. Cameroon is one of those that very well could be. And I think they'll be fine in this group. I do have them getting out of this group. First of all, I don't have them winning it. We can get into that in a second, but I do have them getting out of the group. And I have them, I think, slipping here. This could go either way. I just love that plus 550. So I'm happy to put egg on my face on this one. That's fine.
I mean, I certainly hope that you are going to be here. We'll talk about full groups in a minute, but yeah, I am full bore on the Cameroon train. This is one of the more talented teams. They do have a lot of good players coming over from Europe for these games. That's where I'm going on this one. But speaking of talented players coming over from Europe, the next game up here, Egypt versus Nigeria. Egypt's going to be plus 145 to win this one. Nigeria plus 240 and the draw at 2-1. Give me Egypt plus 145 all day here. Nigeria is even now getting plus 240 as the dog in this, getting some brand name recognition for what they've done in the past that they don't really deserve right now. They have not been a particularly sharp team as of late, and Egypt has Mo Salah, who is the sharpest player on the planet right now. That is where I'm looking in this one. Egypt is going to be very feared for this competition because of the fact that they're going to have one of the best players top to bottom. I'm going Egypt with the plus 145.
Another disagreement, 2 for 2 in the AFCON disagreements to start out here, Tom. Obviously, look, Egypt, extremely talented team. One of the favorite. I see this as two teams that could absolutely go on and win it all in the same group. Typically when that happens and the other two teams you can beat up on, a draw ends up being a pretty solid play. And that's not a play I'm completely ignoring here, but I think this is a full coin flip game. I think it's a coin flip group between them and Egypt to win it all. I think, there's no doubt in my mind, I'm sure you would agree with this, that those would be the two teams advancing in this group. And I have Nigeria, just as a quick spoiler to when we talk about the groups, winning the group and winning this game. I have them at plus 240. We're both doing the money line thing, but I think this is a true coin flip. Nigeria, tons of talent. Still, you have the Leicester boys and Ndidi and Iheanacho, the former Watford lad, Odion Igalo, and maybe their most underrated and best player, Samuel Chukwueze, who's been incredible for Villarreal. A lot of talent here. Egypt, underrated midfield. Everyone's talking about Salah. Tons of really talented playmaking midfield players as well, who I'm really, really excited to watch in this tournament. You think about Trezeguet, Mohamed Elneny, Omar Marmoush from Stuttgart has been a revelation in the Bundesliga. That's a really talented team, and I do think it's a team beyond Salah. I think it would be a lazy take to say, oh, it's all hype on Mo Salah, but you have a deep midfield and a star player. I think that's really fun. I don't think there's a ton to separate these teams beyond Salah, actually. To me, this could go either way, and you're getting a totally inflated plus 240 number on this. So my first two plays have a lot to do with inflated numbers. Hopefully one of them hits. Would not be shocked at all for Egypt to win this game. Would not be shocked for Egypt to win it somewhat comfortably because Egypt's really, really good. But I disagree with you, Tom, in terms of Nigeria getting just name recognition on the prices. I think Nigeria are also good, and I'm going to take them on the money line here.
Alex Iwobi is one of Nigeria's best players.
I did not mention Alex Iwobi.
No, any team where Iwobi is going to be one of your top contributors. I knew
that was going to be your take. I am off of any team where that is a factor.
Get me out of there with that. No, thank you. I'm taking Egypt all day here. This team is close to playing Sam Obasanya in this game.
I mean, hey, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. A quick Nigeria note also, which would just strengthen your argument, but I'm going to put it out there anyway because this is AFCON. There's all kinds of fun off the field drama that just constantly is happening with this tournament. We still, by the way, we're recording this on a Thursday. Games start on Sunday. I'm sure we'll have more twists and turns before the first ball is kicked off, Tom. But quick note here. The Nigeria manager situation is a little bit sus right now. They fired Gurno Rohr like a week ago, right before the tournament. So that's a little bit questionable. I certainly think that's something to keep in mind, if you want to put Nigeria to win it all or something like that. I think both of these teams will beat up on the other two teams in the group who are, as I try to remind myself, pulling up the group, Guinea-Bissau and Sudan. I think they'll be fine with those. They'll be a tier ahead of them. The more and more I talk about this, it kind of feels like a draw, this game. These opening games when the two teams know that they're going to beat up on everyone else, they end in draws so often. But this is AFCON. This is not a normal international tournament, Tom. So why not take the inflated plus price? In my case, Nigeria plus 240. I don't know. That could go either way.
Give me Egypt in this one. They're going to be one of the teams to watch out for the whole tournament long. You look at the futures market here. They are one of the top teams to win the whole tournament at 8-1. I'm gonna look for him in this spot, especially when you factor in. Let's take a look here. Nigeria at 10-1, not far behind them, but still, I'm taking Egypt here in this spot. The next one I've got up is the other game from that group: Cape Verde versus Ethiopia. Ethiopia plus 380, Cape Verde minus 115, and the draw plus 235. To give you an idea of the gap between these two teams, the group odds to win this group, and I'm sorry, not from that group, but the Cameroon, Burkina Faso group. This is the other game in that one. Cape Verde is plus 450 to win the group. Ethiopia is 20-1. That's what you need to know here. Cape Verde at minus 115. It's not like you're paying a home field advantage price on a team here because it's all in Cameroon. I'm taking the Cape Verde minus 115 on a neutral court over Ethiopia. Neutral court.
I mean, Ethiopia has spent a lot of their history not even participating in major tournaments of any kind.
Yeah.
This is a huge accomplishment for them to even be here. Very exciting for them. I think them and Comoros are probably going to be the two teams where a lot of people are like, wow, that's crazy that team made this tournament. They're going to get just completely shellacked, I think, every time they play. And I think this game, it has a lot to do with the Fade Ethiopia side, but I also kind of like this Cape Verde team. I see Cape Verde as a possible, dare I say, Iceland of this tournament, an island nation that comes in. Not a lot of people, in this case, a lot of players based in Portugal, in some cases, the Portuguese second division. And yet when they play as a unit, Tom, they have been really, really impressive in competitive games in Africa now for arguably for the better part of a decade. They come up with really impressive results. They made the quarters in the 2013 AFCON. I think this team could be even better based on recent form in their competitive games this past year. 5 wins, 2 draws, and 1 loss. 2 of those 3 games that they didn't win were those Nigeria games. And even then, they drew Nigeria in one of them. They ended up losing to Nigeria and what would have put them through to the final World Cup qualifying round, Tom. That's how close they were to getting into the final 10, a group that, for example, Ivory Coast didn't make the final 10. There are really big teams that haven't made that stage. Cape Verde almost did. They almost took down Nigeria. They played them well also in that game that they lost. They've also beaten your beloved Cameroon boys 3-1 in a World Cup qualifier in an AFCON qualifier over this past year. So they step up against really good teams and play them well. I think they will get the win here against Ethiopia. These numbers seem way off. This just feels like the book doesn't realize how bad Ethiopia is and kind of how scrappy Cape Verde is. So give me Cape Verde minus 115, Tom, straight up win this game.
Yep. We're finally, we have a AFCON agreement here. That is one of my favorite games on this slate here. That might be my favorite bet. No. Cameroon minus 165 is my favorite bet, but I will be getting down for sure on all of these 3. The last one that I have here, Tunisia plus 165 versus Mali here. That Tunisia,
fun game.
Yeah.
Fun game.
Tunisia's a team to really watch out for in this tournament, I think. They're not going to get a lot of respect. They have been playing a lot of ball lately. That is a very big thing here in this one. And they almost won the Arab Cup.
Yeah.
Like they were pretty close to winning that as one of the spots in that one. I think that they're going to benefit from having a lot more team chemistry here than a lot of these other teams. And you look at the odds specifically breaking down this game as I pull it up here. Tunisia is plus 165. They are the favorite in this game. Mali is plus 210 and the draw plus 185. You could end up with the draw here, but I really don't think so. I think that there is actually a pretty big quality gap between these two sides, especially with the familiarity that Tunisia is going to have with their team in this game that some other teams might not really be able to benefit from.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I didn't have this down on my list. I see this as my first read was kind of a hard one to predict. Both of these teams, by the way, Mali is in kind of, for their standards, kind of a golden generation as well. They've made the last 10 also in World Cup qualifying along with Tunisia. So wouldn't be shocking to maybe see Mali a freaking World Cup later this year. But I think you're right. I think the price is also solid here. Absolutely agree with a Tunisian team that is gelling well as a unit, kind of similar to what I was saying with Cape Verde, although Tunisia has better players. So yeah, I'll probably back you on that, Tom. I need to look into it a little bit more. Didn't have it on my board, but yeah, that makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm. I was also considering, but this is a lean, Ghana over Morocco. Explain to me why Ghana is so high here. They're plus 280 on the money line. Have they really fallen that far?
I think there's probably, first of all, yes, I think they've fallen pretty far. I think there's a lot of Morocco stuff going on here. A lot of Morocco hype.
They haven't played a pre-tournament friendly.
Well, and that's definitely part of this. I think Morocco. So, I mean, we can get into this when we talk about the futures. Mm-hmm. They have a guy in Vahid Halilhodzic who has done incredible things in African footy before. Got Ivory Coast to a World Cup, got Algeria to a World Cup. Has not been as good in the AFCON specifically, which is something interesting to look at because AFCON is a very different animal to a lot of this stuff. Morocco also has the off-pitch stuff with, why did Hakim Ziyech not go? Supposedly disciplinary reasons. As a Chelsea fan, I have kind of mixed feelings. Mostly club fans don't want their players going. But in this case, like Ziyech wasn't a regular starter until recently for Chelsea. I thought it might have helped his confidence to go to AFCON and actually play a few weeks. He does not go. They do have a lot of really good players. I think part of this, though, is also like Morocco, even in addition to Ziyech, Morocco's main guys where they're based in Europe. Achraf Hakimi has been part of like every transfer rumor for the last 2 years and is at, one of the biggest clubs in the world in PSG. If you follow the Prem, Roman Saiz from Wolves. And anyone who plays for Barcelona, in this case, as Abde, is going to get a lot of fanfare. So they have those kind of players that are the types of dudes who can build hype based on where they play. I think you're probably right that number is inflated, though, in terms of Ghana. Like, I think you could talk me into this being a coin flip. I'm completely staying away from that.
Yeah, again, this was a game that I'd lean Ghana, but I'm probably not going to end up touching.
Yeah, I think that's a little more interesting. Like, if you think Ghana, I would probably look at maybe a Ghana group play, but now I can't even remember what the group.
Well, we'll cover that in a minute.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I have one more just individual game, Tom, if we want to just bang these out.
Yes, you do. You wanted to go to Senegal versus Zimbabwe.
Yeah, I think this is you mentioned Cameroon on a 1.5 against Burkina Faso. I think this is my try on a group stage play like that. I think Senegal by a 1.5. Yeah, go ahead. I
mean, Senegal's minus 370 to win the game straight up here. So yeah, if you're going to make a play on them, it's probably going to be that 1.5.
Yeah, I think Senegal. So obviously, if you look at the board on the whole, and some of this is differing depending on where you're doing your shopping, but as we pull up the numbers for the overall team future, Senegal currently at time of recording the odds-on favorites for Africa Cup of Nations. I think that is extremely inflated, but that's also because I think this is kind of, like I say, a tournament that's going to be a little more open than people realize. Tons of household names led by their talisman Sadio Mane. They have Edouard Mendy in goal also. They have like Idrissa Gana Gueye, your former boy at Everton at PSG. There's just a lot of guys, like if you watch soccer, that are going to be out here at every position for Senegal. I think in this group, they will be in fine shape. This is a fantastic draw for them. I think they're a real contender to go 9 points of 9. Guinea, probably their biggest competitors in this. And they're fortunate not to get Guinea first. They're able to get one of these kind of confidence building games out of the way. This feels like maybe 3-0, 3-1, something like that. I think Senegal's attackers really get going in this game. And 1.5 goals seems safe. I figure I might as well try it somewhere, try a goal line. And I wasn't as sold on like what you were saying with Cameroon. I'm obviously on the other side there. So yeah, give me Senegal. Zimbabwe is one of the weaker teams of this tournament as well. I think especially like if you consider Zimbabwe to be the 3rd best team in this group, it's a really nice draw for Senegal. And I think they should be able to even potentially rest guys in that 3rd group stage game. They're going to win the group without any trouble. So I think they'll win this game without any trouble as well.
I'm pretty happy to follow you on that. I like that. And I'm always happy to bet on former Evertonian Idrissa Gana Gueye, a man who years ago I claimed was a top 5 midfielder in the Premier League. I was laughed at. How about now?
I mean,
he's at PSG and he's been a good player for them.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's a good player. That's a strong statement, but that's a good player.
All right. One more game that I did want to mention. I was all ready to bet Gabon. Okay. They're playing Comoros.
Yeah.
But a quick, very, very quick Google search told me Aubameyang going to be out for this game after a positive COVID test result. So we're off that. I was so ready for Gabon plus 105 there. I was like, it's Comoros. Gabon's going to have Aubameyang. He should be able to do things in this game where the talent gap is going to be that large. Nope. No Aubameyang. I'm out on that game.
Gabon is mid-2000s Togo with Adebayor. Like that's unless I'm missing something with Gabon, but it feels to me like a complete one-trick pony. Like they need Aubameyang to be in full Oba form. And if he's not out there on the pitch, I mean, who knows? Granted, Comoros are the weakest team in this tournament, so maybe there's still a play to be had there. But not the same without him for sure.
Not at all. All right, let's shift on into the groups. We're going to break down A through F, and then we'll hit you with some team futures too to wrap up here. Group A, Cameroon, the favorites to win it at minus 190. Burkina Faso at 4-1. Cape Verde plus 450. Ethiopia 20-1. You already know where I'm going here. Cameroon minus 190. I will say I only have one actual group play right now, and it is not Cameroon.
Okay. No, if you like Cameroon as much as you do, Tom, I mean, you got the shirt on and everything. Why not take that? We already went through this a little bit, but I'm going against you, and I am going to put some hard-earned money on a future in this that is not Cameroon. I'm taking, and I'll caveat this by saying I'd really love to find a top 2 bet here to give myself a little bit of protection, a little bit of hedge. But at the time of recording, this was the play I found: Cape Verde to win the group plus 450. I'm doing this combined with a little bit of the fake Cameroon stuff. Like I said, I have Cameroon getting out of the group. I have them finishing second. I think this could be very close. In my heart of hearts, I kind of think it'll be Cameroon 1, Cape Verde 2, and I'll just barely miss out on this. But the number is really juicy, and I like this Cape Verde team. Like I say, this year's Iceland, the African Iceland, and I think they find a way out. I'm not that sold on Burkina Faso, and I'm certainly not sold on Ethiopia there at the bottom of the group. So give me a very tight, even all 3 of those teams might be relatively tight, but I think especially Cape Verde and Cameroon will be tight, and I think Cape Verde finds a way out at plus 450. That just feels like the books not understanding what Cape Verde has done over this past year, and especially having beaten Cameroon and beaten them pretty handily in an AFCON qualifier 3-1. That gives me a little bit more confidence that they're not going to get completely wiped off the floor when they play Cameroon head-to-head. If they get a draw in that game, suddenly you can start really talking yourself into them winning the group. So that's what I'm looking at, Tom. Cape Verde 1. I have Cameroon 2, Burkina Faso 3, and Ethiopia 4.
All right. I can back. Look. If you're betting a group winner here, Cape Verde is the winner. Cape Verde is the bet at plus 450. You're getting a fantastic return on investment for a team that has beaten the favorite in a World Cup in a meaningful game this cycle. That's like your logic is sound there. I'm not going to question it. I think that Cameroon is going to have a little more juice with the home field advantage. I think that they're going to be really bringing it in this tournament, but I like where your head's at, and I agree with the process that you made that bet. I probably won't follow you, which is probably a good thing for you.
Yeah.
Group B, any play here, Senegal at minus 450, then Guinea at 350, plus 350, Zimbabwe 20-1, and Malawi at 35-1.
This is a group I'm going to enjoy, I think, game to game betting a lot more than anything on the group. Like I say, I had Senegal on the 1.5 goal line. I might bet Senegal on some kind of Senegal play in all three of their games. It just feels like, I mean,
you're going to make more money that way.
Yeah, I mean, even if you wanted to, this is not how either of us bet, but even if you wanted to just do huge unit minus money line price in all three games, you're going to come out in the green. I think you should be okay. That's not the strategy that I would ever recommend doing because those minus prices are just too heavily inflated. But
yeah,
I think Senegal are a tier well above the rest of this group. There's a reason why they're the top of the board. I think their price to win it all is a little bit inflated, Tom. But in terms of this group, like, you can understand when you start to go group to group, you can understand a little bit better why some of the futures prices to win it all are what they are, because the books are just assuming like Senegal will just cruise out of this group. They'll win it. They might get a somewhat favorable second place team in the next round because of that. All that stuff factors into what your route is to winning all of AFCON. So I think they'll have a pretty nice route. You know, in terms of finishing second, I do think Guinea is a slight step ahead of Zimbabwe, and I think Zimbabwe is a huge step ahead of Malawi. That's kind of my read on the rest of the group, but I don't like Zimbabwe enough to even try them finishing second. So Senegal 1, Guinea 2, Zimbabwe 3, Malawi 4. Really boring read on this one.
Yeah, very, very chalky group there. But the next group up, the good news is Group C, our toughest group out here. You've got Morocco at minus 160 to win it, Ghana at 2-1, Gabon after them at 8-1, and then Comoros at 35-1. This makes them the closest group here by far, mostly because you got that Morocco Ghana similarity in price point, and then Gabon is hanging around in the triple digits, the technically single digits at 8-1.
I just think Morocco. I mean, do you want to talk me into Ghana at all? It seems like you might be trying to create a Ghana argument, because I do think even though I think Morocco is a little bit artificially inflated with some of the star names that I mentioned, I you know, like the manager side there, everything I said with Halilhodžić, like, this is a dude who really does know African footy. Yeah. You combine that with a talented team, I think Morocco should be in pretty good shape to win this group. And, you know, like, they'll go on as deep of a run as their matchups dictate. We'll have to find out what those look like. I don't know if I'm going to take a true future on them, but, you know, this has been a very tough out in competitive games in Africa for some time. As far as Ghana, like, you know, we talked earlier, how far have they dropped off? You know, just looking at the squad, like, I think they've dropped off pretty significantly, Tom. You know, like, this is a team that had real stars in the mid to late 2000s. You still have guys like Jordan Ayew, but you also have increasingly dudes who are domestically based in Ghana who will be playing out this tournament. You don't have like the superstar kind of Michael Essien type character, or even like when Asamoah Gyan was in those crazy form years. I don't think you have a guy like that. Like, Jordan Ayew is good, but he's way past his prime also. I think it's possible that Ghana has dropped way off. Now, you know, the rest of this group, are you going to make a case that, you know, again, Comoros, the weakest team in the entire tournament. So I think everyone gets pretty much an automatic win against them. Gabon without Aubameyang.
Yeah. We don't know how long they'll be without him.
Yeah. So if they play Comoros without, I can't remember how the schedule goes in that group, but if they play Comoros without him, they do.
Yeah. That's
the first game.
That's that first game.
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to touch anything there, but just, you know, that would be the only argument for anything is like, oh, Gabon might slip without Aubameyang. And then if they're your only argument for getting into second, that ends up being a pretty chalky group too, because I think Ghana is a ways off of Morocco. I think Gabon is just, even with Oba, I think they're a ways off of Ghana, and without him, they certainly are. And then Comoros is the weakest team in the group. So it would be one thing if you thought, oh, like, those other two teams could really create Ghana problems. I don't think they can, but I also don't think Ghana can create problems for Morocco. So
I increasingly think, I mean, you look at the complete lack of momentum. Ghana's had some trouble with their football association in the past couple of years as well. This is this is not a team on the rise. This is not a team carrying momentum into this tournament. And I think that if anything, we're seeing their prices a little inflated due to the name brand of it's Ghana, that we aren't seeing what true odds should really be. And I think that that's probably impacting it a little bit more so than we should think. I'd be more inclined on Morocco than anything.
I have them. I don't have the this was maybe a couple hours ago. I have them at minus 160 to win the group. Morocco. Is that
yeah.
Are we fine taking that, or do we want to just stay away from this group?
Especially because I was thinking about a Ghana play in the first game. I'm just staying away.
On principle, you have to stay away.
Yeah. On principle, I have to stay away from it. And plus, I feel like you're going to be able to bet Morocco with maybe a spread against Comoros and get more money out of it.
Fair. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
I just think there are other bets that I'd be more willing to make. The bet that I do want to make though on the group stage, Group D, I'm taking the favorites. I'm taking Egypt minus 135. This is my group stage play here. Nigeria at plus 125, Guinea-Bissau 16-1, and the Sudan 40-1. I'm all about the Egypt here. I know you're on Nigeria. We're going to disagree on this, but I think that Egypt, they were on the doorstep a couple tournaments ago, and they've got Mo Salah. They've got the best player in this tournament.
It's fair enough. I see this similar to their head-to-head game. I think on the overall group, I see it as a true coin flip. I think I'm more in the coin flip mode than a lot of people who are going to be backing Egypt in this one. You can get Nigeria at plus 125 to win the group. If I'm already taking Nigeria to win their head-to-head with Egypt, I might as well keep the train moving and take them to win this group. I don't think either of us expect much from Guinea-Bissau or Sudan.
Yeah, there's nothing going on there.
Yeah, it's another group where I think there's a pretty significant drop-off. Certainly Sudan is in that mix, not far off of Comoros and Ethiopia, I think, is one of the weaker teams in this tournament. So I don't expect much. Great for them to have made it, this expanded 24-team tournament, but I don't expect much from them there. As far as Egypt, they were this dynastic team in Africa in the mid to late 2000s. They won 3 AFCONs in a row and yet couldn't get over the World Cup qualifying hump. Now they've gotten over that hump and they're trying to get over the AFCON hump. It's kind of gone over the reverse. There's nothing else we can say about Salah. He is as good as anyone in the world right now. His form took a mini dip and then it didn't domestically in terms of what he was doing for Liverpool. He's far on the pace to win Player of the Year and Golden Boot in the Premier League. I think he's a real Golden Boot contender here in AFCON as well. I mentioned what I like about their midfield before. There are a lot more dudes kind of domestically based in Egypt on this team than you would think, particularly at the back. But a lot of those are their second unit guys. I think once you see the starting 11, it'll be a lot of recognizable European-based dudes. There's, again, I'm running circles in this group. There's plenty of arguments for both. I just think at the end of the day, I'm much higher on Nigeria than you are. I think that's what this comes down to. I'm very high on Egypt. I just think Nigeria, Wilfred Ndidi is a really good.
Iwobi.
I'm ignoring the Iwobi. I'm not mentioning Iwobi. You're the one who's mentioned Iwobi. Iwobi is not part of my argument. I love Kelechi Iheanacho. I think he's going to bang some goals. I love Samuel Chukwueze. I think he's going to bang some goals. And they have a good holding midfield player in Wilfred Ndidi, and they already know each other at Leicester. The manager thing is concerning. We'll see what happens. But, hey, it's AFCON. There's always a concerning manager storyline right around the corner. Like I say, I'm sure we'll have another manager firing in the next 4 days before these games kick off. So, I have Nigeria to win that head-to-head game, and therefore I have them to win the group.
Yep. No. Oh, no. Give me Egypt. Give me Egypt all day here. Yep. Group E, we got the reigning champs in Algeria at minus 250, Ivory Coast at plus 175, Equatorial Guinea at 28-1, and Sierra Leone at 65-1. Can I interest you in some Ivory Coast?
I'm not fully against it. Ivory Coast is such a tricky team. I mean, this is the ultimate post-Golden Generation team. And they have been now, though, for a decade, and they continue to find some squads. They're coming off of just real heartbreak. First of all, very tough to get Cameroon in the penultimate African World Cup qualifying group. That was a really tough draw for them. They beat Cameroon in the first matchup, and they lose to them in the second matchup. And it just ultimately there was like one draw's worth of math somewhere that pushes Cameroon on to the final round and not Ivory Coast. So real heartbreaking there. I think this is a completely imbalanced team, which has been the case for a while now for Ivory Coast, in the sense that they're very imbalanced, young versus old, and they're very imbalanced in terms of the positions. I think they're going to be at a huge goalkeeper disadvantage as they continue to trot out Sylvain Yoho, in goal in between the sticks. I think their back line, they're bringing up a dude domestically based at ASEC Mimosas in Ivory Coast who might have to start in this tournament. Like, they are years past the Kolo Toure at center back, Yaya Toure is a defensive midfield force in the middle of the park. I think defensively they're going to really struggle in some of these games. Now, as far as what their dudes are up top, tons of guys that, look, if you follow England, if you follow Europe, you're going to recognize these dudes. Maxwell Cornet has been the only good thing at Burnley this year. Scored in their last game and now leaves them for a month, which is the most Burnley thing ever. They obviously Franck Kessié has been fantastic at Milan. And the biggest argument beyond anything, even Wilfried Zaha, Nicolas Pepe, is Sebastian Alaire, who, of course, West Ham fans will recognize from a year or two ago. But anyone who's followed the Champions League will recognize this guy because he is the leading Champions League goal scorer after the group stage, Tom, with 10 goals in 6 games for Ajax. He's been on absolute fire. Same domestically with Eredivisie. He has been one of the kind of low-key, most exciting goal-scoring players in Europe right now. He's a shout. We'll get to Golden Boot stuff. He's a guy I like in that conversation if Ivory Coast can make a run here, Tom. I think he's going to be one of the real exciting players at this tournament. He hasn't quite gotten going for Ivory Coast in the same way that he's gotten going for Ajax. So, something to look out for there. But I do think Ivory Coast has some really exciting players up top. The question for them, and this has been the question, I don't want to oversimplify it, but really since Drogba retired from the national team, is can these dudes play together under a cohesive identity? And I don't, the recent World Cup qualifying would seem to indicate no. Certainly that last Cameroon game was really gross for Ivory Coast. But we'll find out. Their manager, Patrice Baumel, is Hervé Renard's former assistant. Fun fact about him, he is the only dude in this modern era who has won AFCON with Ivory Coast. He won it for them back in 2015. That was the kind of the final Yaya Toure charade. And he also won it all amazingly with Zambia before in 2013. So this is his top assistant. He was the mentor to this guy. We're now going to find out if this French dude, Patrice Baumel, can kind of take that baton and actually do something with Ivory Coast in this kind of limbic era of guys. So a lot of question marks. That's a long way of saying I have a lot of question marks about Ivory Coast. I think the ceiling is possibly there. I was really hoping, Tom, in terms of the overall futures market, to get a better number for them. Like the books are kind of over this as well. Like currently, in fact, they've climbed all the way as the third favorites for this tournament at plus 700. I just think that's insane. That's too high. I think they're a good team. I was really hoping maybe I can get them 12-1, 15-1. I thought they'd be in that range. The books are not having it. I don't know if it's some of that name recognition stuff you're talking about, whether it's Wilfried Zaha, whether it's just Ivory Coast being a team that people have recognized at World Cups. Someone like our age has seen Ivory Coast at several World Cups in their life. It might be that. Yeah. I would be careful of that number. I was really hoping for a better number and maybe take them at 12-1, 14-1 to win it all. But I can't do it at plus 700. I just can't.
Yeah.
As far as this group, though, Tom, I don't know. At the end of the day, I have Algeria winning it. I have Ivory Coast second, Equatorial Guinea third, Sierra Leone fourth. That's how I have this thing ranked, extremely chalked. You're not going to take Algeria minus whatever it was, 250 to win it all. So if you're going to do any play, it has to be Ivory Coast winning this group. I think Algeria is a significantly better team than Ivory Coast when you look at that head-to-head matchup. And then we'll find out what happens to the others. The Ivorians in recent years have slipped up in some bad games. Even World Cup qualifying, like I mentioned, they lost to Cameroon in the last game, but they also beat Cameroon. They didn't make it because of other slip-ups. That was the main reason they didn't go on to the final round of World Cup qualifying. Another slip-up, like a draw against Equatorial Guinea, it sounds insane. I don't think it would be that insane to see them slip up in that kind of a way in this group. I also think they could beat really good teams in the knockouts. So there's a big, wide range of possibilities for me with this Ivorian team, Tom. As far as the group, for now, I'm sticking with the chalk, and I'm not going to back it with any kind of money because it's not a good Algeria price.
Yeah. I'm with you there. There's not, if you want to make a play, you can play it on Ivory Coast, but that number isn't really that profitable for you if you do. I'm staying away. The only other group that I really have a potential play in, Group F, I don't like that Tunisia is minus 150, but they're the ones that I like to. I'm playing a favorite here, but Tunisia, I think, can genuinely go far in this tournament. Mali at plus 135 after them, Gambia at 12-1, and Mauritania 25-1 here in the final group.
I think you're talking me more and more into some Tunisia stuff, but I'm with you, like, just in terms of where the numbers aren't great. I think Gambia is a little bit better than people might expect. Just as a quick note, like, this is a team with a lot of players based in Serie A. Moussa Barrow, Amin Jallo. They also have Asan Sisai, who's one of their big goal scorers at FC Zurich, who people have maybe noticed in the Europa League. Not a terrible team. Like, that's a team with like half of their starting 11 based in Europe. I don't know if they're better than Mali. Like, they get a little unlucky that this is one of the best versions of Mali in recent years in terms of that fight for second. I agree with you. I think Tunisia wins the group. I would just say this is not a pure gambling endorsement. Look out for maybe something Gambia related. Like, it would not be totally shocking to me if Gambia finished second in this group. I do think Mauritania is far and away the worst. They'll finish in fourth. I'm struggling with the second versus third. Right now, I have it chalky with Mali and then Gambia. But I might flip that. I might look for a Gambia play.
All right. I'm, like I said, I like some Tunisia there, but not enough to really fire away. The only conviction in the group stage that I really strongly feel is the Egypt play. I think that Egypt will come out and win that group. And that's really a play on just the quality of their team there. But let's move on into who is going to win the whole dang thing. You got Senegal at 4-1, Algeria plus 450, Ivory Coast 7-1, like you said, Egypt at 8-1. So is Morocco, the host Cameroon at plus 850, Nigeria 10-1. And then from there, it trails down with Ghana, Mali, Tunisia coming up the pipe. Any plays that you have in the futures market?
Comoros 250-1, I think, is what we need to be locking up with at least a couple units.
I'm on the own.
Fair. That's very fair. I liked this board a lot more like a week ago. It's shifted a decent amount with the public, and I didn't lock anything in like a moron. So that's
that's where I lot in right now, like with all the uncertainty around.
Well, so AFCON's very uncertain to begin with. We mentioned what happened with the Nigeria manager situation. You mentioned Ghana's FA has like been running out of money, and what was the thing? Ghana like couldn't get their players to and from a tournament. Like they couldn't fly them in
like that
successfully at one point. Look, this is AFCON. You know, things like this happen. Like I said, the next 72 hours, even more might happen. As the board stands, you know, I think, first of all, I think Algeria is better than Senegal. So I think those numbers, even though they're virtually the same thing, I think those are flipped if you want to just look at the heavy favorites, which I don't. I liked Ivory Coast in a vacuum, just assuming that they would be 10-1 or better. I don't love them being higher favorites than Egypt. Are you kidding me? I think that's pretty silly. And therefore, I suddenly, like, I was going to stay away from Egypt, but Egypt at plus 800, not insane. I mean, this is a team that was the top of the board. If you looked at different odds over the last couple of months, at different points, you would have seen Egypt at the top of the board, or at least tied with Senegal. So getting them now as the fourth favorites at plus 800, that seems like just something you have to play in terms of what the number is, Tom. Am I wrong?
No, I'm completely with you. Egypt is one of my teams that I'm picking here. I like them at 8-1. I see them having a genuine shot to win this thing. The other team that I've got is Cameroon at plus 850, as we talked about. I love them to pick up their second AFCON Cup in a decade, and doing it at home would be fantastic for them as well. I think that they have a great team, and I think they have a real shot to go do it. You look at them. How is it much different than Italy going out and missing a World Cup and then proceeding to come back and win the Euro? It's kind of the African version of that, and I could see that same storyline taking place here, albeit Italy, of course, now in jeopardy of not making the World Cup again, which would be a tremendous disaster, but that's for a later episode. And then the other team that I got here is Tunisia at 20-1. I think that that Arab Cup showing was really impressive. I think that they can bring that same level here. And as a longer shot in the 20-1 market,
Oh no.
I'm not
I thought you were gonna
against it.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I think that's fine. You might talk me into something, Tunisia. I had completely written them off, not as a fade, just as kind of an ignore. And I don't really know why. I didn't look deep enough into them. Yeah, I agree. Like, you're getting Tunisia at 20-1. Tunisia at the same odds as Mali is crazy. I mean, again, this is one of the better Mali teams, but that's crazy. I think even Tunisia at 20-1, I like more than Ghana at 14-1. I'm so much higher in Nigeria than you are, but I also think, like, so part of the Nigeria 10-1 and the Egypt at 8-1, I think part of the reason why you're not getting maybe plus, even closer to plus 450 for Egypt is because of them and Nigeria playing each other in the group. But I'm not really sure why that would matter, since both have such a dreadful bottom of the group that they should advance with relative ease, unless you think the group winner will really determine the path there. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of boring on the overall futures now. I liked Ivory Coast a lot. I am definitely going to bet something on Egypt. And I still might sprinkle something on Ivory Coast at plus 700, but again, I like them at much better number than that. And I might sprinkle something on Nigeria 10-1, but that's more to annoy you at this point than anything. And to have dueling both teams in the same group futures bets, I think is a hilarious moron play. So I might do that just as a kind of ultimate hedge. One of my favorite plays, though, Tom, is not in the overall to win it market, but actually in Golden Boot.
That's right.
And I mentioned this a little bit with Ivory Coast. This will be determined completely on how far Ivory Coast makes it. You know, if they go out in the quarterfinals, the nature of the beast with Golden Boots is you're probably not going to get it. You need a team that's going to make a somewhat deep run and a team that has that kind of talismanic scorer. So I'm banking on the Ivorians to make something of a run, maybe at least the semis, and Sebastian Alaire to win Golden Boot at 14-1. I think that number is fantastic for a guy that has as good of a chance. If Ivory Coast is still in it, Tom, if they are making that run, let's say the semis, I think he's got a very good shot to win it. I think he'll get close to a goal a game in this tournament, if not better. Judging on what he's been doing for Ajax, I think he absolutely will if the Ivorians use his strengths correctly. And he's in absolutely incredible form. I mean, the Champions League form, the Eredivisie form, his story with Ivory Coast has been interesting. I mean, this is a guy who's not from there. He's from France. His either one parent or two parents are Ivorian. And so, you know, the French national team being so difficult to get into, only just in 2020, just a couple of years ago, the Ivorians, this is a guy who's in his late 20s now. The Ivorians came knocking when he was, I believe at the time when he was still at West Ham, and they came knocking and said, "Hey, Seb, you want to come play for us?" And he was all about it. And basically since accepting that, Tom, he's been in incredible form at club level. Clearly it's done something to his confidence. I want to see it a little bit more for the Ivorians. He already has scored a brace in a World Cup qualifying game for them. I want to see that happen here in the group, but I think it will. I think that's a great number, 14-1. Sebastian Alaire as the Golden Boot winner at AFCON 2022.
I might be tempted to go a little bit below you there at Vincent Aboubakar at 16-1 because it plays off of the story I'm trying to tell with my bets here. Of if the Cameroon wins the cup, there's a good chance that Aboubakar won the Golden Boot.
That's fair.
And so that might be kind of like you're obviously not physically parlaying those together, but you're kind of parlaying those together, if you know what I mean. Like you're playing the correlation.
Yeah, it makes sense. And again, Golden Boot, you cannot go just off of the name. You have to go based on how successful you think the team will be as well. Not dissimilar to like MVP future betting in other leagues and things like that. You have to take all that stuff into consideration.
All right. Can I interest you at 100-1, Alex Iwobi?
Oh my
You're
God.
So high on Nigeria.
Yeah.
That would be the wildest thing ever.
maybe I'll put $1 in that just to piss you off. I'll be pissing myself off, but it's $1, you know?
Yeah. Why not? That would be the most amazing thing from this tournament. All right. Taylor, it has been a pleasure being back with you. You obviously had to enter COVID protocols a couple weeks ago, and then the week after that, we took a little bit of time off for the holidays, but it is good to be back. Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next week. Thank you so much to FTN Network for hosting our show. Remember to use the promo code GOLAZO for 10% off any FTN subscription. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the show. If you like us, tell your friends, leave a review, give us that 5-star rating. It really does help out. If you don't like us, tell your enemies, trick them into watching us instead. You can check out all of my bets on the FTN Bet Tracker link in the show description, and follow at FTN Bets on Twitter, and myself, TV at Work, and Taylor at ATLTWill with 1L. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, and see you next episode.